All right, you guys, I am here. I am here. We are ready to go. I apologize for being a few minutes behind, but we're ready to go. Let me just make sure everything's okay on Facebook. And we're going to throw a grand rising up in the comments. And we are ready to go. Go ahead, take this moment, tag a friend, tag a family member, let them know Spiritual Success TV is live. All right. There you go. All right, we all set on Facebook. We all set on YouTube. Come on in. Let me get a sip of this tea. And we are ready to go. Come on, let's go ahead and get in good posture. Sit with your feet flat, back straight. Grand Rising, Reese, thanks for joining us live. I apologize for being a few minutes behind. I had too much time this morning. All right, so let's go ahead and sit in good posture. Take a good healing deep breath in. Exhale. Relax fully and completely. Relax. Breath in. Turn the focus inward now to the rich inner life, the kingdom of God within, heaven within, all your answers within. One more for the power. 3 deep breath in and exhale. All right, we are ready to go. Today we are talking about how to reset and how to rewire. Last week we started talking about how to rewire the brain. We talked about how the wiring in the neural pathways is what's calling the shots in your life. And so we want to take a real candid look today at how do we offset that. So remember, when we talked about reset, it's all about setting a new baseline or starting anew, starting afresh, getting a new perspective. This today is all about, while we're in this massive energy of completion, we really want to do some resetting and some rewiring so that we transpose. So today we're going to go through an actual guided meditation to start rewiring so that things work together. All right. So let me just do a little bit of technical things with you, just a little bit of science, not too much. I don't want to overwhelm you, right? So when we look at this, and like I said, okay, that's full screen. When we look at this, this is kind of small. I can't even see it. Let me put my glasses on. All right. So remember last week I showed you, this is just another image of what these neural networks look like. I want you to look at these neurons and synapses, right? So the components of the neuron, just to let you know how beautifully, how wonderfully we are designed, right? If you can read that, right? The neuron components consist of dendrites. That's all those little fibers and hairs at the end of the root, the nervous root, right? The dendrites, which are cell bodies, and the axis that transmit, watch this, electrical signals that fire through your nervous system. I want you to highlight that, right? They transmit these signals, watch this, that come from the thought pattern. Synapses are specialized junctions where neurons communicate, watch this, through chemical and electrical signals. That's why you always hear me talk about your hormonal responses, the hormones, the biochemical reaction in the body, even down to your hormones. These dendrites, these neurons pick up those signals from your hormones. So if your hormones are imbalanced, you're throwing an imbalanced signal. The electrical signal coming from the nervous system. Yes, Reese, yes, you are very well versed in the makeup of the central nervous system. Yes, absolutely. So when we look at this, let me take this and see if I could just make this, not that. I want to go back to this. But let me go back to this. They changed these views, so give me a moment so I can figure out how to make this bigger. All right, so the neural network operation is understanding that neuron and synapses is critical for grasping how the neural network processes information. So this brings us back to when I talk about the body, right? When I talk about the body and how everything is stored in the body, the nervous system, right? That vagus nerve that runs all the way up your spine to your brain. All of that is reading the information and it's making these neural pathways. So true to our communication here, I want to look at metaphysical reframing. And what did I say? Neural pathways are energetic highways. So when you think about these, I want you to think about energetic highways that your soul or your spiritual information travels on. Old programs, I want you to think of old programs, old paradigms. Think of contracts you've made. We're talking spiritual now, talking metaphysical. You have made many contracts. You have taken many vows in your life, right? Remember me talking about how I took a vow of invisibility. I was not aware I did that. I was not aware I did that, right? Some of these neural pathways in the brain, based on our DNA inheritance, and some of it is from ancestral habits, things that we picked up in our family line, that we do, we think, we believe, because we picked it up from ancestral habits, right? They have been rehearsed. And when you look at the word rehearse, I see hear. You're rehearing with that inner ear, and rehearse, S-E, you see. So you just keep replaying something that you've seen, something that you heard, and you rehearse it. When we think of rewiring now, today, put this in your notes. When we think of rewiring, I want you to think about spiritual sovereignty, choosing new inputs, spiritual sovereignty, choosing new inputs. Come on, choosing new inputs, speaking a new story. This is good right here. I can stop right here and don't go no further. Spiritual sovereignty, choosing new inputs, speaking new stories, living as if the new circuit already exists. Living from the end. And that's what we really want to take a moment and we want to transform today. We want to transition that today. All right. So when you think about this rewiring, I want to take a moment to make sure we are understanding your nervous system is playing a huge role in how you're able to live, think, and create. This is why we do energy management every single day. Every single day you have to manage your energy. That will help you manage your mindset. So when you cannot talk about mindset without understanding the whole physiology, the whole biology of the body, because it's more than just what we know in general science. This is why this is the rise of the spiritual scientists. And the new Holy Trinity is spirituality, technology, and science. So as we begin to understand the biology, the biochemistry of the body, the electromagnetic frequency of the body, we begin to understand what is making a mindset. So you just can't talk about change your mindset, and not know how to manage your nervous system. This is real, it's important, beloved, because as your nervous system is sending off signals, is firing a signal. When your nervous system is out of balance and it's not being managed properly, that's when you get into overwhelm, overdrive, anxiety, stress. All of that sends a message to the brain, and it begins to make those grooves in the brain. All of those highways getting deep and deep and deep. So I want you to think of it in your brain. There is a well-walked pathway of these neurons gathering, fire and wiring together, of you thinking the same, acting the same, speaking the same, doing the same, associating with the same, making the same choices. You just keep deepening that pathway. And it becomes so thick and so wired together, it becomes automatic behavior now. That when you just try to change, and you just try to change your mindset, it doesn't last, it doesn't hold. Because we're not managing it on a cellular level, on a nervous system level. This is where we have to start making the change. Yes, Reese said, I'm choosing new input. Speaking of new story. Y'all, I could stop right there and just go to shouting and praising right there, right? So let's continue on, because we want to get to doing this guided meditation where we start the recess process, okay? Give me a second. So when we look at this, go to the next one. We want to look at the contrast. I shared this with you last week. We want to look at the contrast. We asked the question last week, what are you hardwired for? Is it survival? This is where most of us are hardwired. We're hardwired for survival. What does that look like? Quick reactivity. You're always reacting. Remember, there's a difference between reacting and responding, right? Your default is always a fear response. I'm going to do a whole talk just on fear alone and how it plays out. We don't want to be in that fight or flight response. So when you're in survival mode, you're always reacting to something. You're always repeating something. You're always telling the same old story that's about 20 years old, right? Your default is always a fear response, a suspicious response, non-trusting response. Somebody's hurting me. Somebody's playing me. Somebody's hating me. Can we take a breath and just let all that go? None of that matters, beloved. None of it matters. People pleasing to avoid loss, to avoid rejection, to avoid criticism. Let it go. People pleasing. Saying yes when you know you should say no. Repeating relationships that are harmful. And they confirm your old identity. But today, beloved, today, we're creating a new identity. We're going to start the process today, right? So in contrast again, are you hardwired for creation? This is what we're coming into. We're coming into divine, sovereign creativity. When you're hardwired for creation, it looks like you're getting divinely inspired ideas that you can act on, right? Being magnetic and attractive, meaning that things are flowing and being attracted to you, and you're not chasing anything. You're not anxious for anything. You're not in deep want for anything, right? You're open to receiving the good you desire and the good you deserve. This is what hardwired for creation looks like. You take bold, imaginative rehearsal. Bold, imaginative rehearsal. Now you are rehearing the good stuff. You are seeing the good stuff. So when we start rehearsing now, every day, the good stuff, And what's going to happen? You'll start receiving the good stuff. But you have to be vigilant to manage your nervous system as you go, right? Taking teeny tiny courageous action steps that expand your field, that expand your impact. So when we think about this, beloved, I keep forgetting they changed this thing. I got to figure out how to do that, right? So when we think about creating this new story, new input, new input, new input, new story, new input, every day, new input, you start creating a new road. You start creating neurons, you start a new pathway that will superimpose the old pathway, envelop it, and swallow it. That's what we're here to do today, right? So when we see how this is working, then we get to see what all is working for us. Let's just go to the next slide very quickly, and then I'm going to ask you this. Let's do this 1 minute check-in, all right? So we've been working last week and this week. We was looking at awareness. I want to ask the question, talk back to me. Where did you notice your default circuits showing up? And if you didn't do it last week, do it this week. But talk back to me. Your default circuit, that is that switch that's always flipped on in your mind. There's one that you default to all the time. Like I told you, the shadow self has a voice and it tells the same story. There is a circuit that you default. When I'm in soothing, my default is what I do to soothe myself, right? That shows up. Your dominant one is going to show up. What is the story that you're telling? What is the ancestral connection? I look like my mom looked around this age. Well, I superseded her in age in terms of longevity. But I'm looking the same way my mom looked. If y'all notice that you're doing something that your mother did in her adult life, right? The way that I relax, the way that I recline, what I do when I'm relaxing, I can see her. See, that's a part of our DNA. It's in your DNA. What is ancestral? What are you doing that you see that's like it's in your family? Addictive habit? Come on, talk back to me. Addictive habit? What is it that we are doing that we inherited somewhere? What is it? Until you can identify what it is, you won't know how to do a new next step, okay? So I want us to take a minute right here. I want you to breathe and I want you to think as we get ready to go into this guided meditation to start laying down a new track for a new input, right? She said, I do so many things just like my mother while I look just like her. Yes, right? And there is no shame here about anything. The key is just to recognize it, to be aware that when I'm doing this thing, I look just like my mom. I look just like my grandmom. Whoever it is in the ancestral line, I look like my dad, right? Beloved, these things are so intricately engraved in our brain that we're on autopilot with these behaviors. This is why we have to do things in repetition. It's not about a hit and miss. So now, this is the good part of where church came in. This is part of the good stuff. That there were times And I'm going back. We have to go back to like the 60s and the 70s and some of the 80s to get this real moving of power. This is when we would gather in a revival, in a tent meeting, right? A camp meeting. And the energy would be so thick. The anointing would be so great because we were all of one mind in one place. And we were building that energy through prayer, through praise, through worship, through fasting, through prayer. We were creating a clear path for that energy to move and circulate. And back then, leaders were consecrated. They were holy. They were godly. And they stored up and knew how to direct the energy. This is when they laid hands on you. I'm going to have to do a whole teaching to break this all down. But for today, I want you to keep in mind what we shared with the slides, with the neurons, the neural pathways, right? The nervous system firing, wiring behavior. This is why they were able to lay hands. And the magnitude of the energy that they were transmitting, that you were ready, open to receive, because there was something new you desired. When they laid hands, they were able to cut and interrupt that electrical impulse from the nervous system, and a new was created, beloved, and you created it because you came up. You went to the altar. You went up there because you were desiring change. Now, I'm talking about when you had your first awakening experience, which some would call a born-again experience. It's because you were desiring change. Your heart was open. You were so sincere in what you wanted to change in your life, coupled with us harnessing all of that energy in one place, all in agreement. That is how we get the supernatural power. You have to know it on this level so that you know that you can create this. But what happened is that we became dependent on that environment. We became dependent on that man or woman, not knowing that we had the power within ourselves to bring about the same change. And over the years, y'all know it got watered down. Thank God for people who still carrying the good stuff, who still pure in their intentions, right? Okay, so let's go ahead on to the next slide. So here we are now. We want to go into this guided meditation. Let me see. Can't do it. Add to stage. There we go. Let's go into this guided reset. All right. So let's do this, beloved. Go ahead and sit in good posture. Go ahead and sit up. Sit with good posture. And breathe in for 4. Hold it for 4. Release for 6 or longer. And then we'll rest for 4. Deep breath in. Exhale. Rest. Deep breath in. Hold it. Exhale. One more for the power of 3. Deep breath in for 4. Hold it for 4. Exhale slowly and completely. Come on, relax from the crown of the head to the sole of the feet. Relax. Now, with your mind's eye, turn that focus inward. I want you to see the image of the brain. I want you to see one neural pathway, just one of those strands that we saw. I want you to see that in your brain. I want you to see one neural pathway that you want to change. Take a moment and go ahead and choose one. Name that pathway. Breathe. Now I want you to see a soft white light coming down through the head, going all the way down the spine, down the legs, down the feet. We are anchored, we are connected. Breathe. Exhale and relax. That one neural pathway, call it what it is. I want you to see it as gray, a thin gray pathway. I want you to breathe again. See the next white light coming down. And when it hits the brain, it turns gold. Turns gold. I want you to place it alongside the gray neural pathway that we are releasing. Breathe. Call it again what it is. I want you to see the gold light now, that gold pathway, vibrating and expanding and reaching the gray. Vibrating, expanding, covering the gray. Vibrating, expanding, covering the gray. And I want you to say, either silently or loud, I input sovereign creativity. Come on, say that aloud. I'm inputting sovereign creativity. I'm creating what my soul desired. Come on, go back, see that gold light expanding and covering completely the gray until the gray dissolves. Breathe. Exhale. Relax fully and completely. Stay here a moment and say, new input, new story, sovereign creativity, wealth and abundance, all is well. When you're ready, go ahead and open those eyes if they were closed. And beloved, this is how we begin to create new neural pathways, right? I want you saying this. I am hardwired for sovereign creativity. That is the mantra for this week. I am hardwired for divine sovereign creativity. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to screenshot this. I want you to screenshot this so that you can have these notes, so that you can go back through this and you can use these practical steps to start rewiring every day. Beloved, I want you to hear me. This is how we do the sacred work. If there's anything in you that's resisting, don't want to do it, say that's too much, I don't feel that, that's when you need to do it. That's when you absolutely, positively need to do this. It is necessary, it's essential, it's critical, it's vital. Whatever word we can use to you getting the transformation that you desire. Breathe, talk back to me, and say, I'm ready for the challenge. I'm up for the challenge. I'm fit for the challenge. All right. So with that being said, beloved, don't take this for granted. I am giving you gold. I'm giving you platinum. I'm giving you practical steps that will really change your life, but I can't do the work for you. Only you could do the sacred work. And we don't want, to be in shallow water. Let's launch out into the deep. All right. And then we're going to catch everything that we need in the net. So with that being said, lovelies, we're sowing seeds. Y'all know what to do. Share this video on your timeline. If it's helping you, let somebody else get help. And it also helps the algorithm. All right, lovelies, have a blessed, wonderful, and amazing rest of your day. Bye for now.